What's up, guys? We're back. We got a video from a news station called Canal. And it says Crutches versus drones. Combat videos show crippled Russian troops sent into combat. And the thumbnail is literally Russians assaulting on crutches. So this ought to be good. So real quick, my name is Saxon. I go by Vegas here in Ukraine. I joined the International Legion for the Defense of Ukraine in January of 2023. I'm still in Ukraine. I'm no longer with the Legion. I'm now with Azov, specifically Azov International Battalion. This Azov, if you don't already know, is one of the most professional units within Ukraine, hands down. I don't get any compensation or anything from saying that or getting people to come to Azov. It's just the truth. Like I said, I've been here for a while. I've seen a lot of different units. If you are looking to come to Ukraine, I absolutely recommend you find a professional unit like Azov. I'll leave my email, my direct email is linked down below. I email people every single day. Also, our website, Azov International, is linked down below as well if you want to apply just directly through there. Before we jump in, what the fuck is Trump doing? God, man. Very rarely do I talk about politics, right? But when the politics directly affect what we're doing here in Ukraine, I have to. And as a Trump supporter, this is somebody I voted for, I'm dumbfounded, man. And maybe, some people may say that's what you get for voting for him. I generally like the things he does in the U.S. as far as this Doge, where it kind of seems like they're draining the swamp. They're strengthening the U.S. borders. They're getting rid of illegal immigrants, which I think is a good thing. It's cool, but Trump and this administration has completely turned their back on Ukraine, and I'm honestly like, when I watch these clips, I'm like, nah, this has got to be AI or something. There's no way he said that shit, right? So I have to go and find the original clip, and I'm like, oh my God, he actually said that. Like, dude straight up is regurgitating verbatim what Putin says just in the White House. I can't, I'm so dumbfounded. So, needless to say, I'm no longer a Trump supporter. Sorry about it. I can't be. I've been here in Ukraine. I've lost friends here in this conflict, people who I consider to be family, and this current president has the nerve to say something like they shouldn't have started it, or Zelensky is a dictator, and trying to come up with peace deals without inviting Ukraine to the table. Dude. Anyways, I won't rant too long, but let's watch some of these invaders get smoked, huh?
Many battlefield footage have confirmed that injured Russian military personnel are being ordered back into combat before their wounds have healed. Footage released by Ukrainian analysts shows Russian troops with visible injuries being sent on assaults, with some barely able to walk. Recently, the ASTRA Telegram channel reported, citing footage posted on several social media accounts which show.
Dude, at this point we have seen Russians assault on dirt bikes, electric scooters, a carriage, a horse-drawn carriage, or maybe it was a donkey. Now crutches. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but this is absurd, dude.
Showed troops using crutches to fend off drones, while others struggle to move. One video, shared on the Donbas Case Telegram channel, appears to show a Russian soldier using a crutch to fight off an attacking drone. Another video, published by Ukrainian journalist Yuri Butasov, allegedly shows two Russian soldiers in a dire condition. One is seen walking using crutches while another is crawling on the ground. Astra also published a video earlet, showing wounded soldiers from the 5th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade preparing to go into battle. According to ASTRA, one soldier had previously been taken from a hospital in Yeysk despite having an open wound on his leg and missing a finger. He was reportedly forced into an ambulance and sent back to the front. In one widely shared video, a Ukrainian drone targets a Russian soldier who is clearly using crutches to move. In another recording, a Russian soldier watching his injured comrades being forced into an attack. The scale of the issue is larger than initially thought. What was first believed to be an isolated incident has now been exposed as a systemic practice. Social media footage suggests that multiple Russian units have been ordered to deploy wounded personnel who should still be receiving medical care. The Russian army.
That's actually crazy, dude. Like, holy shit. What? I mean, but I suppose I'm not too surprised by it, because the Russians aren't expecting these people to take any serious or do any serious operations, right? They're expecting these people to draw fire, use them as actual meat distractions, send these people out, draw fire so they know where the enemy positions are, or to burn Ukrainian drones, right? So they're like, these people are already wounded, go get them, finish them off on the front line, at least we can get some more use out of them. It's disgusting, dude. And I know, yes, they are Russians, but still, that's fucking disgusting.
Army is in a difficult situation in the direction of the city of Pokrovsk, Donetsk region. The Russian Kremlovskaya Tabakurka Telegram channel published this information, citing generals close to the chief of the General Staff of the Ministry of Defense, Valery Gerasimov. "The power is completely out, we don't know what to do," the source told the channel. It was noted that the Russians were suffering between 120 to 300 casualties every day in the Pokrovsk direction. Most of the wounded die because they cannot receive the necessary medical care. The enemy, with its drones and other weapons, does not allow the wounded to be removed from the battlefield. Ukrainian military expert, co-founder and analyst of the deep state project Ruslan Mikula noted that in some areas of the front, including the Pokrovsk sector, the Russian army is losing the initiative. A huge number of people, as well as forces and equipment, are concentrated in the Pokrovsk direction, both on our side and on the enemy's side. Therefore, after the active actions that the enemy has been carrying out in recent months, at the end of January there was a certain decline in activity associated with the huge losses that the enemy suffered. This formed a salient south of Pokrovsk, Mikula noted. According to the co-founder and analyst of the Deep State project, the so-called wedges made by the defense forces of Ukraine are not the only successes, but they need to be verified. This indicates that in some areas of the front, including the Pokrovsk sector, the enemy is losing the initiative. This does not mean that a counteroffensive will begin tomorrow on Seladov or Avdiivka, but in general it indicates that the enemy's offensive potential has significantly decreased. And it has decreased to the level that in some areas the enemy has to retreat, as happened in Pishchain, Dachinsk, near Vodiane-Dro, explained Mikula.
I mean, hold on, let me get some light on this. Even being here in Ukraine, I know that things are not good in Pokrovsk. The Ukrainian forces have been holding out, but they're steadily taking losses, and the Russians just continue to send meat wave after meat wave as they do. They take a shit ton of casualties, but when you got millions of people to spare, fuck it, right? That's what they think. And it's working, man. Bottom line. So this is another reason why this is quite possibly the worst time for the United States government to turn its back on Ukraine. This is the most detrimental time.
Some areas the enemy has to retreat, as happened in Pishchain. Ukrainian troops have struck a rare North Korean 170mm M1978 Koksan self-propelled howitzer used by the Russian army, local telegram channels reported on Tuesday. This marked the first case of Koksan howitzer being struck in the front line since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war in 2022. The military hardware was hit during the operation carried out by the fighters from the 412th Nemesis Regiment in Luhansk region in eastern Ukraine. The Telegram channel described the operation as a great achievement by the Nemesis Regiment. The Koksan self-propelled gun was first seen in Russian service in October last year, while its first combat use was recorded during the Iran-Iraq War of 1980 to 1988. The firing range of this self-propelled gun with a high explosive fragmentation
That's a big fucking gun, dude.
projectile reaches 43 kilometers, while with an active reactive projectile it can reach as far as 54 to 60 kilometers. The firing rate is 2 shots in 5 minutes. Koksan is serviced by 8 crew members. It should be noted that North Korea has been supplying Russia with thousands of troops and military hardware as part of the landmark defense treaty signed between the two countries in 2024. According to South Korean, US and Ukrainian intelligence, at least 11,000 North Korean troops have been sent to fight on the front lines against Ukrainian forces.
Let's talk about North Korea real quick. I think I was talking about this with somebody today, but people talk about not wanting to escalate conflict and escalate this into World War III, blah, blah, fucking blah. In my opinion, it's pretty much widely accepted that Europe has been shitting the bed when it comes to support for Ukraine. They needed to have been way more involved, way more involved. Ukraine is in their backyard, right? Ukraine is the gateway from hell, if you will, the Russian side, to the free world, the Western world, Europe. And Europe has done jack shit about it to be as politically correct and not hurt anybody's feelings and not get raise any tensions. Dude, fuck that shit. The second North Korea, we even got intelligence that North Korea was going to send troops into Ukraine, or into Russia, then into Ukraine, which we got weeks before, even in the media. So actual intelligence agencies like in Europe and in the US knew that North Korea was going to send troops probably months in advance. The second we found out about this, European nations should have been putting boots on the ground in Europe. France needed to be there. Germany, there. England, there. I mean, of course, this is my opinion, right? But it is absolutely absurd to me how small people take this major escalation of North Korea entering the war on Russia's side, right? And everybody just say, whatever. What's the most recent fucking thing Trump said today, or what's Elon doing today? But nobody gives a shit that North Korea is now in the war. I don't know, man. It's crazy to me. They needed to, or we needed to, as the free world, show extreme prejudice and show of force, all boots on the ground, push in, fuck it, bring NATO, and say, absolutely not, North Korea and Russia. You cannot do that. We stand firm here. Because Russia and North Korea against all these nations, the European nations and even NATO, dude, North Korea and Russia aren't touching shit against all those militaries. North Korea can't even fucking beat Ukraine. I mean, North Korea and Russia can't even beat Ukraine alone. Let alone you bring in the Germans, the French, the English. Come on. If they rolled up or was like, nah, this is where we draw the line, this is enough, stop, or we're jumping in, boom, point blank over. Tyranny has been stopped and held back, and justice is at least being upheld for the time being, right? We have proven that this is not going to be acceptable in the future. Because you know who else sees that? China sees that like, oh shit. So they're serious. If we try to escalate things, they're gonna bring in the big guns. You know who else sees that? Iran. Oh shit. Okay, maybe we shouldn't fuck with Israel anymore. Fuck around in the Middle East anymore. China's thinking maybe I shouldn't go get Taiwan. But right now, fucking Iran and China are just sitting there like, okay, just wait for their chance because America's being pussies, Europe's being pussies. The only people really fighting is Ukraine. Rant over, sorry. That was way longer than I expected, but fuck it.
US officials have proposed to send peacekeepers from non-European countries to Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire. The Economist has
in quotations at the very bottom, in the event of a ceasefire.
reported. According to the magazine, they are primarily talking about a military contingent from Brazil or China. US Vice President Vance said that the forces consisting only of Europeans would be less effective in deterrence, the publication's journalists noted. It is expected that these forces will be deployed along the ceasefire line to create a buffer zone. A contingent of peacekeepers from Brazil or China could complement the military personnel from European countries, including France. Earlier, the French authorities proposed a European mission that would remain far behind the front line. Thus, the military should provide support to Ukraine without necessarily being involved in possible future hostilities. However, it is well known that Russia opposes any deployment of foreign troops in Ukraine. Therefore, Donald Trump's administration will have to force Vladimir Putin to make concessions. The Economist concludes it is also expected that the UK, France, Germany and Poland will be among the countries that may send their peacekeepers to Ukraine. Besides, in January,
Poland.
President Volodymyr Zelensky was insisting on deploying US troops in the country as a possible security guarantor for Kyiv. Europe could send a multi-brigade reassurance or deterrence force to Ukraine. The number is estimated at between 25,000 and 30,000 troops. The Washington Post reports this with reference to sources. It is noted that these troops, if they are sent to Ukraine, will not be deployed along the contact line, but will be ready for a show of force if the Russian army resumes hostilities. At the same time, the publication notes that the troops could be supported by a large number of forces from outside Ukraine if they need to quickly build up their forces and advance. France, meanwhile, has carried out more advanced military planning, with estimates suggesting it could send around 10,000 troops, though other European allies are still more worried.
I find it funny that they're talking about bringing troops, but they need to specify and be very clear that these troops will be nowhere near the zero line, and they'll be very far back in the rear, supporting from a distance, right? They need to make this very clear and politically correct, and don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But 2 months ago, North Korea was like, just fucking dove into Russia and started fighting in Ukraine. They weren't playing this pussyfooting around for, 6 months. We might send people, we might not. We might send them during a ceasefire, we might not. France might go, but we might not. North Korea was just like, we're here, we're fighting.
Worried or have limited military capability.
My point is, they gave no discretion. They didn't give a shit because it's war. They showed up and they started fighting. Meanwhile, the European nations and the free world should have been doing the same shit in response.
These two people familiar with the matter said. Ukraine's European backers are jockeying for a role in talks to end the conflict from which they have been excluded, even as those negotiations could reshape the continent's security landscape. The prospect of sending troops into Ukraine is gaining traction among European leaders as the Trump administration moves quickly toward direct talks with Moscow, with US and Russian officials expected to meet in Saudi Arabia on Tuesday, the article says. The United States has ruled out sending its contingent to Ukraine. However, European officials say Trump has not ruled out the prospect of supporting European forces that could enter Ukrainian territory. Estonia is ready to send its troops to Ukraine as part of a post-war peacekeeping mission, together with other partners, said the country's foreign minister Markus Sakna.
Quotations at the bottom. Post-war.
In addition, Sweden does not rule out sending its military to Ukraine as part of a post-war peacekeeping contingent. Earlier,
post-war.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that London was ready to send troops to Ukraine, if necessary, to provide security guarantees. According to him, the UK is ready to play a leading role in accelerating work on security guarantees.
You know, I don't know what the fuck this is. In prison, fabricate charges. Okay, that's interesting. I think it's interesting that there's all these like little disclaimers at the end of what they're saying, post-war, during a ceasefire. I mean, it's the most bitch shit that I have seen, man. Straight up. And I know I'm being harsh in this video, but if there's any time to be harsh, it's right now. And if there's one good thing that has come out of Trump completely turning his back on Ukraine after guaranteeing them safety after taking their nuclear weapons, if there's one good thing that's come from that, is Europe has woken up. They have now they're calling these emergency meetings like, oh shit, America's not going to baby us and wipe our ass anymore. We might have to do something in this conflict. That's might be the only good thing that's came from this. But forgive me for getting fucking worked up here. But I live here, right? I plan on living here for a long time. And at the rate things are going right now, I would not be surprised if we're fighting in fucking Kyiv by the end of the month. That's it. I'm done.